Some of California's highest ranking military officials. I have Major General John Harrel, who's actually the commissioner of Law Explorer Post in California. And also we have the senior NCO, senior enlisted leader of the California National Guard, Chief James. So I'd like to give them an opportunity to give a small discussion or a speech. If you have any questions, feel free to do so.
Okay, let me ask a really hard question. Who started scouting? Ah, and what was Baden-Powell? He was a general, so we won't hold that against him, right? War hero general. Now, would you be surprised how many are first class? Okay, how many are working on first class? You're not working on first class? Aren't you working on first class? Are you already first class? Yeah, I was going to say, you're supposed to raise your hand. Anyway, now, if you completed all those first class requirements, 90% of them are skill level 1 infantry requirements right out of Lord Baden-Powell's, actually cavalry requirements, right out of Lord Baden-Powell's cavalry manual in 1910. So, you're already, as a scout, getting an idea of what the military life is about. Okay? Now, I started scouting when I was 8, which I think is like 1963. In those days, the only equipment we had were military equipment. We had shelter hats, which is a tent made out of canvas that comes in 2 parts. You got one piece, you got the other. When we backpacked into our camping site, you put your tent together. And if you were smart, you put one of your ponchos on top, because canvas in the rain has a tendency to leak. So pretty much when I got into the Marines, when I was 18, an officer training program, I knew how to put all the Marine Corps equipment together because it's the same equipment I used to scout. Today's a little different because we now have high-tech tents that pop up and light backpacks made out of nylon, and canvas and all these other things, but pretty much scouting hasn't changed since when I joined in '63. I know that's like 100 years ago, right? And when Baden-Powell started the program in 1910. So the program is designed that way. Now, what's the difference between scouting and exploring? Anybody tell that? Oh, come on, what's the difference? You dress up any MREs in the scouts? Yes? No? No? Okay. What do you think the difference is?
It was military.
This particular is military, but it could be police or it could be fire. Okay? Or something else. Exploring is career-oriented. Scouting is kind of general-oriented. Gives you an idea about, all those merit badges are careers. That's why you do them. But in explorers, we don't float around and hide it. We actually say military career, police career, fire career, that's it. The main difference is if you learn the tasks and the scout law and the other things that go with it, these will help you be successful in if you decide to take a military career or if you decide to do any other kind of career. Those same standards that you learn in scouting or you learn in exploring will make you successful in life. I'm an orphan, I'm dyslexic, okay? I started my adult career with a rifle and a 100-pound pack. And I couldn't fail, because I had nobody to back me up. I ended it as a major general on the guard side and a deputy attorney general on my civilian job, okay? What kept me going through all of that was the scout law and the scout oath and the leadership principles I learned in the Marines and in the Army Guard. And that's what success looks like. Hard work, but guess what? I had a whole lot of fun along the way. Because being in the military is being very similar in scouting, and if the two of us hadn't spent 30 years in, it must be fun someplace along the line. Now, before I hand it over to my alter ego here, my adult supervision, Anybody have any questions of me? Don't be afraid to ask. Do I put my pants on the same way you do? Yes. Okay.
When did you join the military?
I was 18 years old, and the first physical fitness test I took was at this base when it was a Naval Air Station, because I was a Marine. And the Vietnam War was going on at that time. There was a draft. I had a really high draft number. It was 1. But I enlisted into the Marine officer training program before the draft was pulled. So I did a lot of push-ups at boot camp for being a draft dodger. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Sir, what is in your case?
This is a Soviet map case. Our map case is the kind of a canvas one. It's kind of rinky-dink. I worked with the Ukrainian army all through the 90s. I commanded Ukrainian troops in Kosovo. I hold 2 decorations from the Ukrainian army, which is basically means I didn't kill any of their guys in Kosovo. And I could, walk, talk, and chew gum and not fall into a tank ditch in Ukraine. But this is Ukrainian map case. When I open it up, it has a place to put your map with, instead of the material that we use, which is kind of light, it's actually kind of like a heavy piece of plastic. And my notebooks, if I have to keep track of who did right, who did wrong, I can pull that up. And why do I keep it here? So I don't lose it. If I put it down, I'll walk away and leave it there. Is this authorized military equipment? No, but I used it in Kosovo, and I used it in Afghanistan, and I used it everywhere else. And everybody asked that question, where did it come from? That looks pretty Soviet to me. Any other questions? I also wear a shoulder holster with my pistol when everybody else is using a quick draw holster. I'm a tanker. If you put it down here, you get caught every time you come in and out of church. Yeah, see, he knows. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, General. Appreciate it very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you realize this, but General Harrel has nearly 50 years of service to this nation. 50 years. Can you imagine? 50 years. Now, I got a lot of folks here. I've got the infantry explorers. I got the CAT. I got some air service members. I got some state guard. I got Army. I don't know where you all were today, maybe at 7 o'clock. I hear you were out in the field, many of you, right? Not in the classroom, right? Did you have a chance to pay your respects to the flag earlier today? Did anybody have a chance to pay respects to the flag? Let me tell you, the big unifier, and no matter what we do, regards to the clock we wear, we're here to serve our nation. So would you do me a privilege? Sir, would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Ladies and gentlemen, please stand. Absolutely. Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Everybody take your seats. There's a lot of talent in this room. There's a lot of experience. There's a lot of enthusiasm. So when I find myself kind of working within joint teams, interagency partners, and things alike, I kind of try and go to that lowest common denominator. And as diverse a group as we've got here today, there is no lower common denominator. What we're here to do, not only to improve our lives, to build camaraderie and teamwork, we're also here to serve. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? It's kind of fantastic to be here with you today, because believe it or not, there are not that many young men and women that have that orientation at your age. Yeah? Cap, I'm addressing you as well, okay? So do not be mistaken. It's really fundamental. We need talent to be prepared for whatever's in front of us. You know, as you all know, California's kind of had some interesting transients lately with fires in northern and southern California that have been devastating. Maybe to the point, 150 years you'd have to go as far back to find anything bigger. And I don't know if you heard anything about this coronavirus. We're all watching that very, very closely, because that may become a pandemic, which is very serious. And we haven't had that type of threat for more than 100 years. Guess what? The folks in this room wearing the uniform are gonna have a play, regardless of what happens domestically, okay? There's only so much our civil service partners can do in their hospitals and their emergency operations center before the surge to need requires uniformed service members to help. Be it with logistics, be it with transportation, be it with command and control. I have a sense some of you probably realize that. Yeah? So it's fantastic that you're here because the investment today is about who you're gonna be and what you're gonna be in the future. Now let me ask you, Cap, Infantry Explorers, do your organizations make you or do you make your organizations? Think about it. Don't rush to answer that question. Do you make your organization or does the organization make you? What do you think? Organization makes you, right? How about you? Okay. Anybody say different?
I think it goes both ways.
I know it can go both ways. I know it can go both ways. Sometimes when you find yourself in a military construct, we go through an experience called indoctrination, right? Where you're kind of cutting your teeth on what it is, the values of your organizations, the missions that you perform, the teamwork that we prescribe by. And as young men and women, we may not have had that experience. Part of why you're here is to initiate you into this military experience. And the first stages of that is indoctrination. So yes, the organization is kind of feeding you who this organization is and what they're about. But with experience, the game changes. And believe it or not, we all rise to the ability of propelling our organizations, be it with our talent, our initiative, our teamwork, our dedication, and embodying the values to the organizations which we work within. Army values: leadership, duty, respect, self-serve, honor, integrity, personal courage. Air, integrity first, selfless service, excellence in all we do. You can get the gist, but I will tell you, it matters that you're here today because you're trying to do something more than just be here for yourself. So I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for it. Some of your friends probably got up maybe about 10 o'clock today. Probably went straight to the game console. Maybe they didn't even go to sleep last night, I don't know. But you all got up to JFTB, put on the uniforms, and kind of said, hey, I don't know what today holds, I don't know what tomorrow holds, I just want to be part of something. And for that, you have my profound respect. And I also want to share with you the cadre here around the corner edges of the room. We talk about service members, and I have the privilege of working with uniformed folks daily. But you know what? Those doggone uniformed folks get paid. These folks around the room are not getting paid. They're out here because they care, and they want to share with you the experiences that are important to them, and they feel likely important to you. So I ask that you understand, and if you have questions, ask. If you have questions, ask. There's probably 20, 30, better than 35 years of experience with some of these service members on the edges of the room. And that's what they're here for, is they're here to provide you the basis of experience so that when you make your life, career, professional choices, maybe you don't have to venture into the unknown. Maybe there's somebody that's walked in those steps before you that wants to give you that information so you can make an educated decision, a very important decision as to how you want to begin your life. Because let me tell you, folks, in this day and age, making good decisions young matters as to how well you live when you retire. And I think many of you will say that's an eon away from where you're at today. Life is fast. Life is fast. So take advantage of the experience. Enjoy your time. Training's supposed to be fun, by the way. A lot of people don't get that memo. Training doesn't have to suck. So let's have fun. okay? If you have questions, ask. All right. I got a name and a title that nobody really understands. I've worked with some of your cadre in the past. Any questions of me? CAP, infantry explorers, cadre alike, anything that I can help? Fire away. Jacob, what do you got?
How long have you been serving since you joined the military?
So I joined the military in 1985. I originally joined the United States Army. I lived in Folsom, California, which is just east of Sacramento. And in my high school years, look, I was either going to be a soldier or I was going to be a priest. I didn't like high school, and I wanted out of Folsom. So at 19, I was 17 years old. I attempted to re-enlist. They put me on delayed entry. I had to wait until I was 18 years old, which means I had finished my senior year of high school. But anyway, I really, really wanted to serve. My folks were government. My stepfather was a veteran. My uncle, great uncle, veterans, and something about service resonated, and I wanted to pursue. I went into it blind. I had no idea what I was getting into. The minute I raised my hand and enlisted, they said I was going to be a medium helicopter repair. I don't know what a medium helicopter is to this day. But fortunately enough, it turned out to be a Schneck helicopter. Great experience. So I was really fortunate. But I just turned my 34th, I just completed my 34th year. And I'm enlisting next week for 3 years. I serve at the distinct pleasure of the Adjutant General of California. And I tell you this, even though I've been doing it for 34 years, every day is a job interview. Every day, I have to get after it. I can't sit back on my laurels. You all are too important. And there are thousands that deserve the absolute best. So if I'm not at the top of my game, then I'm either outstanding or I'm out processing. Okay? Awesome. Any other questions? Come on, one more.
Cadet, speak up.
One more. Sir.
Have you ever been deployed?
I have been deployed. My first deployment was during the Cold War. When I enlisted from Folsom, California, I wanted to go to Germany. I was 18 years old, I wanted to drink German beer. So they sent me to a place called Mannheim, Germany. But during the Cold War, unbeknownst to me, we would muster once a month. Because back in those days, the Soviets were still active, and we were anticipating them coming through what was called the Fulda Gap, through Czechoslovakia into Germany. That type of warfare was no holds barred. That type of warfare would have been pretty devastating within the first 12 hours. So U.S. forces that were stationed in Germany were positioned to anticipate the Soviet invasion of Western Europe. But I loved it. We worked hard, we played hard. I wouldn't have changed that experience for anything. I went back from Germany to Fort Campbell. As soon as I stepped in the door, they mobilized me to Panama. And there was an interesting dictator in Panama called Noriega. He had some other interesting nicknames. But as soon as I got in the door at Fort Campbell, they sent me down to Panama City, Panama. Now closed Fort Kobe, Howard Air Force Base, in anticipation for the Just Cause operation. I didn't have to stay for Just Cause because I belonged to the 101st, that was 82nd Airborne's operation, along with 3rd Expeditionary. The commander of the 101st didn't like the fact that he had 6 soldiers from the 101st with 3 infantry regiments and division artillery. We hadn't had conflict in the 80s other than Grenada. So to have a right-hand patch with all those hard-charging combat arms soldiers wasn't good. So I was sent back. I went to Desert Storm, Desert Shield. I've been to Iraq 2 additional times, and I've been to Mogadishu, Somalia, which was a really interesting experience and one probably least favorable. Yeah. I've done some other stuff where I went back to Panama to help with some of the infrastructure improvement and what we used to call New Horizons missions, which was fantastic as a reservist. would help build roads and infrastructure for some of the outlying communities in Panama. And I tell you what, I used to work with soldiers and airmen that we used to get just absolutely pumped up to do that work in ways you cannot imagine. Love that work, so that's not really deployment, but had an opportunity to get out of the office. Yeah. Any other questions?
What about Ring?
So the ring, thank you very much for asking, I appreciate you. I'm very proud of this ring. In 2011, 2012, I was fortunate enough, thanks to some great supervision and some wonderful wordsmiths, to be nominated as the Air National Guard representative to the Sergeant Major's Academy Wrestling Class 1962, excuse me. So with 780 of some of the best service members, best soldiers, 29 international partners, including a Georgian, who's now the Georgian Sergeant Major of the Army. I had a chance to go to Fort Bliss, Texas, and learn with some of the best hard stripers you could imagine for an entire year. And it really helped get my head straight because I thought I knew the game. I didn't. And that was kind of the latter chapters of my career. But the important thing is it helped me take stock, listen and watch others around me. And that experience in 2011, I graduated in 2012, really set the stage for this phase of my career. And the fact is continuous process improvement is key to leadership. Don't take anything for granted. So thank you very, very much. It was a great question. Okay, what else we got? Anything else?
Why did it change from the Army to the Air Guard?
So, I love what I was doing. I really did. Unfortunately, in the mid 2000s, Army aviation in the National Guard was downsizing. I was working for a great organization. Unfortunately, that organization disbanded. We sent material back east, and I got enveloped into what is now the TASMG, 1106 TASMG. Back then it was called NAVCRAD, a very large aviation depot maintenance organization that is huge and has a regional responsibility when they deploy. But as an EA with their service members already assigned, I was getting stacked 4 or 5 deep, and the music was stopping and I didn't have a chair. So my wife helped me reinvent myself. It was an airman, and lo and behold, we started drilling on the same weekends. It was fantastic. I listened to my wife predominantly, and again, the wonderful thing about California and the National Guard is I can think of at least 90 missions, 90 job skills. It's just a matter of who you want to be and what you want to do. And the opportunity to reinvent yourself in this nation's uniform, there's no better way to serve. So, yeah, thank you, sir, very, very much.
Did your rank carry over from Army to the Air Force?
I was very fortunate it did. But I had to go back to school now. I had to go back to school because as I mentioned, I kind of went through believe it or not, I've completed all of the PME as a soldier. Back when I started, it was PLDC, Primary Leadership, and then BNOC, 1, 2, 3, ANOC 1 and 2, and then I went to Sergeant Major's Academy. I had to go back to the E6 level of PME in the Air Force, then Senior NCO Academy, and then all my joint PME stuff. So again, I took that as an opportunity to learn because, again, professional military education, in the Air we call it getting reblued. It's important that you kind of touch home base every once in a while just to know that the standards as an airman and how those standards can be applied, kind of best to just go back to a school experience to get that. Yeah, thank you very, very much. Okay, I'm holding you up between now and I think lunch, so I haven't been brief, but I do appreciate each and every one of you. Again, I want to make sure Civil Air Patrol brothers and sisters, you know your value, and I thank you. I know we're sharing equipment this weekend. This is a joint team. This is a joint team. Synergy happens when you take different experiences, individuals, organizations, put them together. And when you have synergistic effects, what you were is separate, just much more powerful together. So it's a team game. It's a team game. No time for individuals, right? But if you have a question, don't be afraid to ask. Again, shout out to everybody around the room. Thank you all for your selflessness. I'm grateful for you. General, I appreciate you, and thank you for your words of wisdom. Chief, I think I'm going to turn it back over to you again.
That's it.